is it live? Okay. Okay, it's live, so it should be on Next Step Show. All right, hey, Peter, I'm going to go.
All right, I'll see you in a minute. I'll get on clean speed here in a second.
Okay, very good.
All right, bye.
The voice of liberty. WYSL. You are listening to WYSL1040.com, 92.1 FM, and 1040 AM WYSL Avon Rochester.
Hey, can you hear me?
It was 1949. The National Basketball Association was formed. The George Eastman residence was turned into a museum. And a very fiery woman named Mary Cariola, armed with a big heart and even bigger
Testing
plans,
1, 2.
founded what today is the Mary Cariola Center. Today, the agency celebrates its 75th
Hey,
anniversary.
Paul, can you hear me?
Looking for your help to continue the mission of educating and caring for children and youth with intellectual developmental disabilities. Hey, join the celebration. Consider a donation for the anniversary. $75 for 75 years. Please visit marycariola.org and click on donate. And let's keep this agency going for another 75 years.
God bless America.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
I'm Keith Peters reporting. Results for a key U.S. Senate race are in. Correspondent Bob Agnew reports.
With polls in more than half the country closed now this election day, results are starting to trickle in. As expected, Senate Republicans eclipsed the West Virginia seat of retiring Joe Manchin with a win tonight by former Governor Jim Justice. That's a major step in their hope for recapturing the Senate majority. Republican Mike Braun wins Indiana's governor race. Republican Mike Braun won the Indiana governor's race Tuesday, defeating Democrat Jennifer McCormick, a former Republican who split with the party after serving as a state school superintendent. The victory by Braun, a U.S. senator, is a wealthy founder of a national auto parts distribution business, extends the GOP's 20-year hold on the state's top office in Deep Red, Indiana. Braun quickly became the front-runner in the race, bolstered by several advantages: name recognition, money, and former President Donald Trump's endorsement. That is Bernie Bennett reporting.
Meanwhile, the two presidential candidates wait to find out who's going to be the next president.
After voting in Florida, Trump was asked if Harris ends up with more votes, would he concede?
If I lose an election, if it's a fair election, I'd be the first one to acknowledge it.
Kamala Harris voted by mail. She stopped by DNC headquarters in Washington, where they were making calls.
Talk to voters.
All right, everybody.
Caroline? Carolyn? Hi, Carolyn. Hi, how are you? This fully represents the best we are. Just reaching out to folks, letting them know.
It'll be a little bit before I have you on.
Trump will be at his home in Florida. Harris will be at a party at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Election day voting unfolded relatively smoothly across the nation, with only scattered reports of delays from extreme weather, ballot printing errors, and technical problems. On Wall Street, the Dow by 427
Hey,
points.
Can you guys hear me out there? Can you hear me?
Stability of our economy after this election has many worried, and stocks and bonds could be the first to collapse. Countless Americans are turning to the safest store of wealth in human history to protect their retirement accounts. Physical precious metals. Gold has been a safe haven asset for generations. At Premier Gold, we specialize in helping those with a 401k, IRA, or other types of retirement accounts convert their
Can you hear me?
assets into physical gold
Oh,
to protect
how
their
great.
hard-earned savings. Today, we'd like to send you a free gold election kit to help you decide if this is right for you. Call 606-800-8000.
I'm going to be here the entire time. I do have Aisha, the first guest. She's going to talk about Prop 1.
Gold or silver. Don't let the outcome of this election influence the fate of your financial future. Call 606-800.
Whenever you're ready to bring her on, just let me know. I figure between text and talking, we should be good.
Call 606-800-8000.
I really like parking. I'm going to need a priority parking space. I only work remotely. How are your
All right, so how about we bring her on? Because she's got to go right around
As we go
9:10.
into the evening, it'll be very
All right,
pleasant
thanks.
across the area with just a few passing clouds. Look for increasing clouds overnight as lows only dip down to 60 degrees. Very early tomorrow morning, between around 4 and 6 a.m., a cold front will approach, bringing a couple of rain showers and some breezy conditions. As we go through the day, high temperatures top out around 68 degrees, but those temperatures will fall as we see a little bit of sunshine. For WYSL 1040 AM, I'm meteorologist Amanda McDonald.
Every day can be a holiday in your new ride from Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 6484 Route 96 in Victor, where they're featuring a select inventory of 2024 4xe Grand Cherokees up to 50% off. Choose from 7 units and mail them. And check this, lease a 2024 Jeep Compass Limited 4x4 SUV at just $249 a month for 42 months. A 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 SUV is only $349 a month for 42 months. A 2024 Jeep Compass SUV is just $249 a month for 42 months. A 2025 Ram 1500 Bighorn Crew Cab 4x4 pickup is $359 a month for 42 months. 1,000 miles per year. All lease deals require at least $3,500 down. First payment, DMV taxes, fees, residing,
All right, sounds good.
per year. Except pickup. Other conditions may apply. Dealer for these deals. We welcome Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and Finger Lakes. Visit the most beautiful new vehicle sales and service dealership in the area. Victor Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Now at 6484 96,
Greg,
just east
and I
of
think
Victor.
Himbo.
WYSL. Election Central on WYSL.
92.1 FM, 95.5 FM West, and 27,000 watt AM 1040. We welcome you to Election Central, a tradition every presidential election year here on the WYSL stations. Thank you so much. Bob Savage here in studio. Wouldn't miss it for the world. And up from his Florida digs, the host of Valor Radio, Paul Simonelli, is in studio. Hey, Paul.
Robert, how are you? It's so great to be in the studio.
Very, very exciting. We also have Gary Stout, executive producer, in the studio with us.
Hey, Bob.
Second Amendment Radio. We've got Bob D'Angelo in control. Everything is all hooked up, wired up, ready to go here out in the parking lot. Paul's got our satellite truck. It's all lined up with the communication satellite Platypus 1. And that's a killer satellite, by the way, because it's already knocked out Mayorkas 1 and Millie XV. That's the pink satellite. So, yeah. Anyway, welcome to our coverage. So, Paul, you've been working very heavily over there, Colonel, on getting everything all set up for communications. What have you got set up there?
Well, I'm just monitoring 3 or 4 different news services just to see what they're reporting, some different numbers. I'm trying to keep an eye on some counties and some of the important states. I think going back to 2016 when we spent the whole night here, Robert, waiting for these few counties that we needed to see come in. And so I think I have a few keyed out in the important states. So we'll keep an eye on those and we'll talk about them when we see something significant there.
All right. So the national stuff, we will be running that down with reports from Channel 10. And we also have out at the Republican Watch Party, we have Peter Vasquez from Next Steps. Peter, can you hear us?
I could hear you. How are you doing, brother?
We're doing fine here. And give us a picture of what's happening on over there at Jack's place.
Well, right now, actually, we're over at the Italian Community Center over off of Frank Domino Drive. Candidates are coming in. The house is getting packed. We've got a really good turnout out here today. Here in a little while, when you're ready, we're going to start bringing people through to kind of talk about their experiences and how this all went out. But, man, I'll tell you, this place is filled with excitement, Bob.
Well, that's great. And I understand that you have our dear friend Aisha Kreitz there with you.
We do, and he's just going to, when we're ready, just kind of give an update on the whole Prop 1. She's the campaign manager for Prop 1, Bob, and she's got a lot to share, so whenever we're ready with that.
Well, let's go ahead and do it now. Let's talk about, first of all, Prop 1, of course, is also known as the Equal Rights Amendment, which it is not. It's anything but equal rights. It's special rights, as the commercial very accurately portrays, for illegal aliens. And also, it's a measure that would permanently step on parental rights as well.
So let's bring her in and get her take on what's happening there.
Absolutely. Aisha, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the Honorable Aisha Kreutz, the campaign manager here in New York State for Prop 2. Aisha Kreutz.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Get her on microphone there, Peter. She's kind of off mic. We can't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
Much better. Yes.
Can you
Okay.
hear me now?
So you've been in the vanguard here, Aisha, with this Prop 1. Tell everybody what it's all about, just in case there's one or two folks out there who aren't familiar.
Yeah, sure. It is a constitutional amendment, proposed constitutional amendment changes. And basically what they did here in New York is take, you know how they usually take a bill and they stuff a lot of pork in it? That's what they did to our Constitution, is added 12 new categories that you cannot quote unquote discriminate against. Everything from national origin, ethnicity, disability, sex, including sexual orientation, gender identity, reproductive health care, sex, as well as autonomy. And so, and that's just the surface. There's 96 words that they're looking to amend, and when we looked at it, it sounds great, equal rights amendment, but just like I was saying with the bills, they stuffed a bunch of pork in there. Each one of these things should be voted on and discussed on their own merit instead of us having to do it in 12, say, oh, you might like one or two of these and not the other one, but it's an all or nothing vote. And that's a despicable thing that our legislators have done to New Yorkers. So we ask people to vote no.
It's typical. The political left always makes things look like, they always put lipstick on that pig. They try to make some measure sound like it's some wonderful democratic measure, when in fact it's a repressive measure. And when you're talking about discrimination, the discrimination that they have in mind is, for example, if a municipality chose to write a law which prevented guys from walking into ladies' locker rooms, that would be
under this
discrimination.
Right. Under this, if you can't discriminate, and that's what we were asking, like we need these terms, we need some clear definitions, right? If you can't discriminate based on sex, well, what does that mean, right? You have to pass it to know what's in it, right? And we've seen how that's worked out for us in the past. Same thing with age. If you can't discriminate based on age, well, age is first breath to last breath. So we do have a lot of common sense guardrails around age. Everything from, our federal government does it, our state government does it, whether it's our children, housing credits, child credits, all these different things that could all be challenged. And so one of the remarkable things that I just want to say about this particular initiative, I know we're on more of a conservative radio show here, but the people that came together to say vote no on this was absolutely incredible, right? We had pro-choice people and pro-life people. We had Jews and Muslims.
You had LGBTQ as well.
LGBTQ, and you know what I mean? Like, you had this full gamut, and all of them saying, wait a second, we have the same questions. And, it's never been done before. What we've been able to do at the Coalition to Protect Kids and bring these different voices together, talk to people and say, well, do you see these same concerns? And have people, even though we are vastly different on so many other things, to come together on this one thing. I think it's remarkable and it's refreshing to see, especially in such a divisive climate that we have right now.
Yeah, it's been quite the campaign to say no to Prop 1. I mean, everywhere you went, there's lawn signs. Of course, the media was totally blitzed in upstate New York, trying to get folks to vote against this thing. And I don't know, the sense that I had, you got to look at the polls, obviously, but the sense that I had is that it looked like it was headed for defeat, and we can all certainly hope that would be the case. Well, you got some insight on that, Aisha?
No, the only insight that I have, again, we did polling early on, again, over a year ago, which is kind of how the coalition had started. We were the first and only voice out there for basically 10 months saying, well, and Bobby and Cox, she's another one that she was suing about the constitutionality of some things. But as far as the ballot issue committee, we're the only ones that have been out there to ring the alarm bell. And that polling we did showed us that at least 67% of people were against this prop if they knew what it was. But anecdotally, as we've been on the ground, everywhere from Harlem, the Bronx, Albany to upstate New York, that number is actually more like 80%. 80% of people that we were able to reach were against Prop 1. And so that was really the test. It was like, can we reach as many people as we can to tell them exactly what this so-called Equal Rights Amendment was? And that was the challenge that we had. And as well, because if 100% of us were to vote yes, that are, Republican conservative, that were typically on that side that you would expect, if 100% vote yes, we still lost. We needed 1.2 million people who are center left to vote no. So.
Got it. Okay. And the especially pernicious thing about this is it does act like an actual amendment to the Constitution, because it would require majorities in both the legislative houses to undo this thing. And we know how likely that's going to be in the infamous New York State legislature to try to undo something, no matter how repulsive the result is.
That's right. I mean, look at bail, right? The bail reform. Look what a disaster that's been. It's not even a constitutional amendment, and we can't even undo it. If this passes, we are in severe danger. It is probably one of the greatest threats to New York that I've seen in the lifetime that, my 10 years that I've lived in New York. If this is to pass, we are in serious jeopardy. Our parental rights are in serious jeopardy. We're basically playing, Russian roulette work with our constitutional freedoms. So it's not going to matter, even if we flip the assembly, but if that were to happen, or the Senate, right? If we were to stop the supermajority to get something passed, common sense is still going to be extremely difficult if this passes, if at all, because it's now a constitutional amendment. So all we can do is left it in God's hands. We laid everything down that we could. If you look up any article, you'll see that we've been able to rally troops across the state of New York with less than $500,000. And that too is a testament, I think, to what you can do when you really engage in a real way. You don't need $5 million, right? Well, we do, but you can get things done with a little if we just are smart and wise, right? God says we should be gentle as doves and wise as serpents. So
you definitely have been out there in the vanguard with this, Aisha.
Yeah.
And I know that the Frederick Douglass Foundation has been involved in this as well. And it's a real thorny issue. And once again, this is typical of the political left, very divisive, pits New Yorkers against New Yorkers, which is the kind of situation that they really relish. We also, Aisha, thanks very much. Let's bring Peter back in here and see if he has any final thoughts before we cut away here as we start Election Central coverage on the WISL stations. Peter Vasquez, you are a candidate for county clerk. How's that battle shaping up for you?
Bob, everything seems to be on track. The sentiment, the responses that we're getting, but a lot is going to boil down on these independent voters. And the thing is, looking at national numbers, the independent voters seem to be breaking right, which should be in our favor. But a lot of it is going to depend on that. But things look good. I'll tell you what, if from the feedback that I got was a snapshot poll, I would be ahead right now.
All right. Well, that's encouraging news. We're going to be back in here with Colonel Paul Simonelli, Gary Stout from the Second Amendment Show, and yours truly, Bob Savage, on Election Central on the YSL stations. Be right back.
No, I thought you were.
Every day can be a holiday in your new ride from Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 6484 Route 96 in Victor, where they're featuring a select inventory of 2024 4xe Grand Cherokees up to 50% off. Choose from 7 units and mail them. And check this. Lease a 20.
Okay, I'll email it to him right now. I thought I emailed it to you. I'll send it right now.
$49 a month for 42 months. A 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 SUV is only $349 a month for 42 months. 2024 Jeep Compass SUV is just $249 a month for 42 months. A 2025 Ram 1500 42 Cat 4x4 pickup is $359 a month for 42 months. That's miles per year. All lease deals require at least $3,500 down. First payment, DMV taxes and fees for resigning. 7,500 miles per year except pickup. Other conditions may apply. See dealer for details. We welcome Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and Finger Lakes. Visit the most beautiful new vehicle sales and service dealership in the area. Victor Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Now at 6484 Route 96, just east of Victor.
Attention upstate New York business owners and high-level executives. If you're a loyal WYSL listener, you've probably enjoyed hearing Tom Hamilton, president of Hamilton Wealth Management, talk about money, business, and the local economy.
All right, I just sent it.
Here's an opportunity to be part of the show and share your company's story with our listeners.
Right.
Mr. Hamilton,
Hey, I'm going to run downstairs real quick. You guys are going to talk, right?
on his weekly radio show, Wall Street to Main
When do you want me to have another guest on?
will join us in the studio for part of his show and provide insight on our local economy and what makes the company so successful. You don't have to be a radio pro to be a great guest. We've had quite a few business owner guests on the show over the past few years, and all have added great insight for our listeners. They've also enjoyed the experience.
Hey, Bob, can Paul or Bob hear me?
In upstate New York, and you're interested in being a guest on Wall Street to Main Street,
All right, I'll be right back. I'm going to mute my speaker and my...
585-381-9870, or just go to their website, HamiltonWealthManagement.com, for contact info. That's www.HamiltonWealthManagement.com.
Today's heat pump systems are a better, more convenient way to keep your home comfortable all year round. They'll keep you cool on the hottest summer days and keep you warm on the coldest winter nights. Plus, these all-weather ductless or ducted systems are up to 40% more efficient than conventional heating and cooling systems. Upgrade to an energy-efficient heat pump system and take advantage of clean heat rebates. Find out more at airquipheating.com.
Airquip Heating and Air.
Election Central.
WYSL AM 1040, FM 92.1 and 95.5 West.
We're back here with Election Central on WYSL. Now let's switch to Paul Simonelli, co-host of Valor Radio here on the WYSL stations, and a kind of a glance at the major national races. Paul?
Thanks, Robert. First, I just have to say that my home state delivered.
Your home state of Florida?
That's right.
Delivered what?
Delivered all their electro votes to Donald J. Trump.
Yay! How many is that?
I think it's 30. Let me look here real quick.
That's a pretty big state.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's a important state. 30 electro votes. So.
And that's final. That's in.
Well, a small percentage, but it's enough for the county's reporting, and they're calling it. All the national services are calling it at this point. They've got. I don't know what the percentage is right now. There's a lot going on in the Florida ballot this year. There's 4 constitutional amendments being considered, and one legalizing marijuana, and the largest medical marijuana company in Florida has spent over $160 million pushing for legalization of marijuana. In fact, saw quite a few of the sheriffs in the state on there saying they don't want to have to worry about enforcing that marijuana laws, so let's get rid of them. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens that one. I think that one's probably going to pass. So we're watching it. I'm watching the numbers come in.
You had an abortion ban on the ballot in Florida.
Yes. And once again, just like we were talking about in the last segment with the New York Prop 1, there was a lot more in there than that. It was just one of these things that they packed full,
like an omnibus bill of some sort.
Yeah, and it really was overarching. Talking to a lot of folks down there, if they don't have the classic knee-jerk reaction about pro-abortion and have looked at it closely, it was really a pretty scary bill. and tremendous pushback from the governor and from a lot of the medical professionals in the state. Once again, lots and lots of money spent on it, and that's really the one I think that's going to. Those two that I mentioned, the marijuana and abortion, are giant on the ballot this year. So I'm waiting to see. I haven't seen any numbers pop on those propositions yet, but we'll know Florida before we go to bed tonight. They really do have things wired down there on how to do elections.
Good news, bad news here, too. Let me just toss in. As of 9:23, we're seeing 168 electoral votes for Trump versus 34 for Kamala. However, looking at Pennsylvania with 22% of the precincts in, looks like Pennsylvania's tilted so far pretty heavily towards Kamala Harris.
It really does. These early numbers are in, and I was just looking at Pennsylvania to see where, those votes are coming from. And
Philadelphia County was one. Of course, that's a huge part of that.
Right, and the surrounding counties around Philadelphia County. So if you remember correctly, back in 2016, they came in very, very early, and they stilted the numbers. Then we watched the rest of the night as little by little, President Trump worked his way back in to competition with that. So while those early numbers are in, they have a tradition of doing that there. I know you're looking at some different, I think you're looking at NBC News. I'm looking at other, right now they have the count at where I'm looking, 195 for Trump and 113 for Kamala.
She's made a major jump in the last 5 minutes.
Right. Well, they're counting New York. And let's see here. Yeah. And then I see Fox is reporting a similar number. So we'll keep track of this. I'm starting to dive into these counties a little bit that made a big difference last time. We'll keep an eye on them, but let's not panic yet. We're looking pretty good right here, and we'll see when some of those numbers from the West start coming in.
President popular vote 35% in, Trump 52-1, Harris 46-6. But this is of course a moving target. You have to bear that in mind.
Yeah, I'm amazed that NBC is showing so few for her when everyone else is reporting over 100 for her right now. That's pretty interesting. Not quite sure where that's coming from.
Okay, it looks like Trump is projected winner in Alabama, so he picks up 9 electoral votes there.
Right. Right, and now I'm looking at AP, and they've got 177 for Trump and 99 for Kamala. So it's all over the place. Everybody's got their own way of calling these things, what their criteria are going to be for calling them. But we'll keep an eye on them and watch some of these numbers. Watch Pennsylvania. You really do have to watch it by the minute as it changes. We saw that in 16. We saw in 20. There was President Trump never came back on that. It was very close ultimately, but it took a couple days to get to that point. But in 16, it was about 2:00 in the morning. He called Pennsylvania.
I remember I conked out because I had to do the morning news the next day and try to make sense of all of this for folks in 2 minutes newscasts. And you and Peter Haight held down the fort here.
Yeah.
Of course, Bob D'Angelo doing the technical stuff.
Boy, oh boy, that was a long night. So,
all right, Pennsylvania 19 electoral votes. Let's see. Looks like Harris is 56.2, Trump 42.9, but it's not being called yet. It's not being projected. And I didn't see how many counties are in. So who knows?
Right.
It could be like 18% of the counties are in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it looks like. I looked at this a couple minutes ago, and I've just seen these numbers shift again. So that's. And it's looking good. Donald Trump's looking good in Georgia right now. He's got 52% with 74% reporting. So that's a great place to be right now with that. Pennsylvania, I'm a little bit surprised that there's such a big gap right now, but we'll watch and see what happens. I don't have any granular. I'm trying to get the counties to come up. They're really not showing anything on the Pennsylvania election site at the moment, but we'll we'll keep track of that. And when we have something that looks definitive, we'll let you know.
Okay, we got a couple local county things that we can point to at this juncture. Peter Vasquez has stepped away. He'll be back with us momentarily. In Livingston County, Donald Trump is leading by 1%. Livingston County numbers so far, so obviously not all those numbers are in. And with early voting results so far, Ashley Williams is down 10%. Vis-a-vis incumbent Greg McCaffrey, who is a Democrat for DA.
Yep, I'm here.
For
they're working their way up. They'll be here in a second.
I'm sorry, had a senior moment here. For Assembly, there we go.
It's going to be Carmen Leonardo.
8% to 41%. So that's what we have just locally here in Livingston County. And let's see, do we have a new count from the
I have him.
Vote nationally, Paul, at this juncture?
I think they're calling Wisconsin right now.
For Kamala?
No.
Oh.
But only 3%. No, they're not calling it yet. There's only 3% in, but President Trump is up 60%, or 57% to 41% right now.
NBC's now saying Trump won 68, Harris 62.
Okay.
That's a surprisingly low count for her.
Yeah, I think they're just doing this to try to build momentum for some excitement for people that don't change the channel. No one else is even close to calling it that way. So I don't know where they're coming from with that. Other networks are reporting 195 for Trump to 113 for Harris.
NBC News projects Harris wins New York.
Of course.
Big shock there.
So did they add those in now? Maybe that's one of the reasons she was still showing so low. They were waiting on New York.
What are we talking about tonight? Election?
Yeah, this is, it really is all over the place. I think we're probably going to need about another hour or so to start getting some real clarity on what's going on.
At some point, it's going to come in fast and furious. It's Election Central on the WYSL stations. Thanks so much for joining us. We will be back with more on WYSL.
All right, sounds good.
Debunking advertising from the law office of Christopher Johnson. Get a load of some of those injury attorney TV ads. The insurance company only offered me $5,000. Big injury firm got me $4 million. And the paid actors you see look like they just stepped out of a fashion magazine. The truth, it is tragic, but nobody looks like a soap opera star who's brought an injury case where the award is $4 million. Those unfortunates have injuries that are permanent and debilitating. They'll need every dollar just to have some semblance of a normal life and take care of their families, often for decades. A serious injury isn't a game show where pretty people get big prizes. If you've gotten hurt in a car or on someone's premises, forget the actor portrayals and take the first step towards getting your life and your future back. Straight talk from Christopher Johnson, attorney. Car, truck, motorcycle accidents, personal injury, and DWI defense. Call 585-415-3803. 585-415-3803.
Your go-to for standard and specialized business insurance coverage. MGM Associates of Rochester, now serving the region and beyond. Since 1984, MGM has
You'll have to share the mic. You'll have to share the mic.
condo, boat, motorcycle, and
all
types of businesses, including nonprofits and law firms, livery insurance, property insurance, and bonds for all needs. MGM Associates of Rochester provides auto, workers' comp, healthcare, and liability coverage. Choose from virtual appointments or good old in-office, in-person consults by appointment at our Penfield office. 5-time consecutive winner of the National Best Practices Award. MGM is proud to support veterans groups. For your personal, business, home, or professional insurance needs, meet the experienced staff at MGM Associates. Locally and proudly owned at
you're going to talk to me?
Road in Penfield, 381-7008 or MGMinsurance.com.
Give me your full name.
United Frontier Mutual Insurance, 190 Davison Road, Lockport, New York.
Yeah, most likable spokesperson, Cole?
Really?
2 p.m.
Bored of this today, aren't we?
Seriously, guys, we're a team. We're not competing against each other.
Ooh, who's a good spokesperson?
2 puppies? I did not expect that from you.
One of them's for you. Oh, who's a good spokesperson? Yes, go Team West Herd. Oh.
Election Central.
I got this noise in my ear, and it's my hearing aid.
We're back in, gentlemen. The mics are on, and we are on the air here. We have Colonel Paul Simonelli and his co-host Steve Mamano. Captain Steve is with us. Hey, Steve, thanks for coming down.
Are you kidding me?
This is a load of laughs every 4 years. We love this. Now, you were there. You were here in 2020, were you not?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was home by 9:30. I think.
It was a sad night.
It was.
What a horrible campaign Trump ran that year.
Yeah.
I mean, I was smacking my forehead. He's getting into fights with people and, starlets and pop stars and everything else. All these, shooting himself in the foot moves. All right, let's go back out to a Republican watch party out in Gates and Peter Vasquez of Next Steps. Peter, what are you seeing there?
Oh, man, I'll tell you, I'm seeing a lot of very excited and happy conservatives and Republicans, Bob. But, here I've got Carmen Leonardo and Naomi here to tell a little bit about their perspective. Do we have a second for that?
We sure do. Take it away.
Absolutely. Carmen.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you first for your service, and thank you for your program on WYSL. A faithful listener, and you guys do a great job. I'm here with Naomi Hintonock. We're both on the Penfield Republican Committee, and we're very excited tonight to see the results coming in. And, the polls just closed about 30 minutes ago, and we're hopeful for a big win in Monroe County. And, of course, we're hopeful for a big win nationally with Donald Trump.
Okay.
As somebody who's a young voter over the past few years, I've learned a lot from mentors here, and I can't say how valuable it is to be involved in the elections and actually learn about who you're voting for. I've truly learned a lot over the past few years, and I'm very grateful for the experience to be able to meet people like Peter, who have taught me a lot about what it means to be a Republican.
Well, that's fantastic news. Anything else there, Peter?
Well, no, I've got Kimberly DeRosa running for assembly. Do we get a second to hear from her?
Sure, yeah.
Absolutely. Kimberly, come on up.
All right. Thank you, guys, and good luck. And again, thank you for your service, gentlemen.
Thank you, Carmen Leonardo, for being on the program. Kimberly DeRosa came to us late, and she's, is it 136th? Is that the district?
Yep, she's running for the 136 Assembly District, which 35th, 135 Assembly District, which covers the East Side. Ladies and gentlemen, your conservative Nuyorican, proud to introduce to you the next Assembly member, Kimberly DeRosa.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Kimberly, how you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling great.
Give us your impression of what's happening in the race in your district.
Well, it's kind of hard to get a feel for it because there's so much drama with the top of the ticket. It's hard to tell which way that will go. But I will say that I looked out my window in Penfield this morning and I saw a gentleman I've never seen before jogging down the street with a giant Trump flag and people screaming and excited to see him.
You see a lot of that kind of stuff, Kimberly. Now, just, I know a lot of people have heard your ads. Some may not have. You're a mom. You're a homeschooler, and you're a complete neophyte when it comes to politics. But all of a sudden, things kind of reached a critical mass for you, and you decided you wanted to get involved. Tell us that story.
Well, it was all in the aftermath of the pandemic when around the time that I decided to pull my son out of school, and I just started to see all of these government overreach and how much power the state had over our everyday lives. I was working HR for an essential business at that time, and when the state had so much control and for so long, and we kind of felt like puppets, as to whatever, without getting any transparency or data from the state. They had that control over us. And so that's when I started paying closer attention to what was happening with our government. And I started getting involved in women's organizations with Republicans, doing more community outreach. And I started listening to people who were whispering. They didn't like it. They were self-censoring.
Did there come a time when you realized that your kids are being taught a lot of bunk in public schools, and that infuriated you?
Oh, absolutely. The curriculum, at home we had done our best to opt our son out of certain assignments or surveys and things of that nature, but it got to be a lot. During COVID, it was even more so. And so we did not want to subject him to that and decided it was better for him to homeschool, which he excelled at. And there's a lot of good curriculum available online to help homeschooling parents, especially for older students.
Yeah, there's a lot of support groups as well. I mean, there's a whole homeschooling network that really helps you get that task done. And, I think a lot of parents out there are really hesitant to get into homeschooling, in part because it's a big job, it's an important job, and also in part because there's a lot of lies, big surprise, being told by the political left about how homeschooling isolates your kids, about how, that the education of our children should be left to professionals, people with an ED degree, and that's just not true, is it?
It's not true at all. The interesting thing I found was that it was a lot of unlearning what public schools teach you a school day should be like.
I'm sure.
So my son, when he did his curriculum, he realized very early on that if he got up early and he got all of his schoolwork done, he could be done before noon and have the rest of the day to play and do what he wanted to do. So
we have a neighbor up the street here. It's a lady whose name, I'm not going to reveal, but she's homeschooling 8 kids. And,
wow.
Yeah, 8. And she decided to come down to the radio station would be a fun field trip one day. So she has one of these great big, club wagon type vans. All the kids all pile in this thing. It's like her own little white school bus. Brought it down here. And the thing that she told us was, it's amazing how much time you have to actually teach, a curriculum which is rich in information and enriching the kids' minds, as opposed to a lot of the hogwash that takes place, all the massive time wasting that takes place in government schools.
Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned the field trip, because you get to really be creative as a parent when you're homeschooling and follow what your children's interests are. Be harder to do with 8 children, but a trip to the radio station sounds like a lot of fun.
It was great. And let me tell you this, they were great kids. The older kids kind of helped out with the younger kids, helped keep them in line and met their needs or whatever. So, it wasn't a babysitting type thing, but it's just that there was this great family dynamic that went on there. And it really, really worked for them. And these were kids that, they're not like a lot of the kids that you see today. I don't mean to, sound like Paul Frees and Bye Bye Birdie. What's the matter with kids today? But these kids, they made eye contact. They were smart. They were connected. They knew how to communicate. They were respectful. It was really telling.
Yeah. Well, and the interesting thing too that I noticed with my son, because he was in middle school around COVID time, and he and his buddies, his guy friends, there's a big group of them. They, instead of just doing the video games, which they had done when they were younger, COVID kind of pushed them in the other direction, and they started camping and doing more outdoor activities. And so he still hung out with his friends after school was done. And he had that core group that he knew from when he was much younger. So socially, he didn't miss out on anything.
Yeah, that's one of the great lies told about homeschooling is that your kid is isolated, doesn't have social contacts, doesn't get to interact with other kids. They're frozen out of sports and music and other programs. That's not true because the schools have to make that available to your homeschooled kid.
Right. Well, and think of it with COVID, the isolation while you're in a school with a bunch of other people, while you're masked and you're distancing and you're kind of shouted at by a security guard if your mask went below your nose. That's what our children lived through. That's an isolation that is far worse than doing your own assignment at home and then hanging out with your friends later.
Yeah, that's what Jay and I experienced with Jazz. I mean, it was his last years in high school, and all the COVID overreaction. That you want to talk about isolation? That was isolating and stigmatizing, and it did pit the kids against each other too, because it was just as history has proven, it was totally unnecessary. Kim DeRosa, candidate for Assembly 135. Thanks so much for talking to us. Good luck. We hope it's a successful night for you, but I'm sure it's been an enriching experience for you in any event. And we salute you for stepping up and doing what you thought was the right thing to do.
Thank you very much.
All right,
it was my honor.
You bet. Okay, thank you, Kimberly. Let's go back to Peter for a moment. See if he has a final word he wants to toss in before we go to break.
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I just want to throw in there that I have the chairman of the Monroe County Party, Patrick Riley, here ready to talk when we get back from break, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all the candidates, I want to say thank you for voting. Thank you for being part of democracy and a representative republic.
All right, we'll be back with more Election Central on the WYSL stations, 92.1 FM, 95.5 FM West, AM 1040, and online at WYSL1040.com. We got some video platforms going too, right, Colonel?
We do, and maybe we can get a link we can get out to people, let them know if they want to watch us on video. I'm not sure why they'd want to watch us on video, but just heard Fannie Willis got reelected in Fulton County.
Oh, of course.
Unbelievable.
What do you expect?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully she'll get disbarred.
And arrested. All right. More in a moment.
Temperatures might be falling, but the deals are hot as ever at Victor Chevrolet, the leader for Chevy in Rochester, Canandaigua, and Fairport. Check out these great lease specials. Go anywhere on the road or off in your new 2024 Chevy Silverado LT Crew Cab. Just $349. 7 months. And the 2024 Chevy Equinox LT all-wheel drive, only $229 a month for 27 months. Or how about a 2024 Chevy Trailblazer LT all-wheel drive, only $199 a
No,
month.
it's just like all the early voting.
Lease and household. Mileage allowance 10,000 miles per year. 25 cents each additional mile. $2,500 cash or trade equity.
You're at the Board of Elections, right?
Fees required at closing. Get more details at dealer. And don't forget, Victor
They
Chevrolet.
changed the whole Board of Elections. It's like a PDF.
When the vehicle you're driving, you can trust it to our Chevy Certified Service Department. Come see how easy it is to do business with us. Victor Chevrolet.
Well, right now, between my race and all of them, actually, there's that 60-40 split.
Why would you buy a storage building or gazebo this time of year? How about to save money? Springwater Amish Workshop has in-stock buildings ready to clear from inventory. Save big on all in-stock buildings, plus these November specials. 10 by 14 Carolina cabin featuring a porch with railings, tan with white trim, save $614. 14 by 24 two-story A-frame garage, red with white trim, save $13.60.
Like right now, I'm at 36.
20 classic cabin, chestnut with buckskin trim, save $864. 12 by 12 mission style octagon gazebo, cedar stain, save $1,112.
Hey, Dan.
Also save through November on lawn items. Beat 25.
Right now, there's really nothing. The early voting numbers are in, but it has her in the lead.
Lighthouses, great Christmas
too early
gift.
to tell. It's only
Poly and
3 out of
treated fine lawn furniture. Springwater Amish Workshop, Mill Street, Route 15 in Springwater. Shop Monday through Friday 9 to 5 and Saturdays from 9 to 3.
Not at the moment, no.
Last couple of years, Joe Robach has been talking about Flower City Collision in Henrietta, saying that it was started by a veteran along with his son Zach. Hi, my name is Greg Sadler.
Yeah, no.
I want to thank the
Nothing.
WYSL listeners for their support over the last couple of
Nothing.
years.
But hey, I'm getting ready to go back on the air, Dan. Let me call you back in a bit.
Providing you the best repairs and customer service has also allowed me the opportunity to see my son develop as a young professional. So remember, Flower City Collision for your collision repair needs. And thank you for supporting our locally owned family business.
Election Central. WYSL AM 1040, FM 92.1 and 95.5 West.
Do not need this.
We go back out to the Republican, Monroe County Republican Watch Party, where Peter Vasquez is all ready to go with the Monroe County Republican Chairman, Pat Riley. Peter, are you there?
I am, sir. Yep. So here, aquí tenemos el señor Pat Riley, the Honorable Chairman of the Monroe County Republican Party. Patrick, thank you for joining us this evening. We also have the Honorable Bob Savage, Paul Simonelli, and someone else there. I'm not sure who that was. I think it's Greg.
Hello, gentlemen. Great to talk to you.
Hey,
Gary.
Hey, Pat. So it's Bob Savage here. How give us your impression of how things are going tonight?
Bob, I've got a real good feeling about the night. We've been looking at numbers. Mostly so far, all we really know is the turnout. The actual results numbers are barely trickling in Monroe County. But from a turnout perspective, the Republicans did what they needed to do during early voting and mail-in. You know, we got our people out. We outperformed our voter registration percentage by 4 points. We haven't done that in the past. Trajectory coming out of early voting with all these extra Republicans voting had us looking at a record high turnout. But the reality is, as we look at the numbers today, we're looking at a record low turnout. We've got suppressed turnout through a lot of the very Democrat regions and high turnout in the Republican strongholds. So we're very hopeful we're going to see some real good results as the Monroe County BOE starts updating these numbers.
Bob, if you don't mind me asking a question, Chairman, I'd like to ask you your perspective on the independent, the non-affiliated voters that came out like more than ever, from what I understand. How do you think they're leaning?
So I really think that something different is going on. People are voting for change. When you look at the national numbers, 70% of people say that this country is headed in the wrong direction. Of course, the people of Monroe County feel those same things. They feel the high taxes. They feel the high inflation. They see the crime going up. And just having an open border makes no sense to anyone. Because of that, I think, the independents look at it, and it's the Democrats that are the party in power when you look at Monroe County, New York State, and nationally. And, if you want change, you need to vote for change. I think the independents are speaking for that change for all of us.
And it looks, Bob, guys, as well, I'm looking at the numbers at the Board of Election. It looks like the early voting numbers, and there seems to be that trend of a 60-40 split, though, an average for the most part. Any predictions, Chairman?
Well, so it's a little early, but I think we're going to do real well, especially on the west side of the county. It's typically a stronghold for us with the city not turning out. I think you can look at some west side races and hopefully some countywide races, both for county clerk and for county judge, that really could go our way. When you look at the numbers and the turnout in the outlying counties, we've had a text group going with the Republican chairs from the rest of the 7th Judicial District, the 8 counties there. We're looking at strong numbers, so I'm feeling real good about the New York State Supreme Court races, both of those ones as well.
Absolutely. Bob?
Okay, thanks. Peter is holding down the fort for us in there at Republican headquarters. Let's go over to Paul Simonelli. What are you seeing? You're tracking all the national scene.
We are. We're taking a look at Wisconsin, and with about 30% of the vote in right now, Kamala has about a 4-point lead in Wisconsin. We'll have to wait and see. Once again, don't have a breakdown by the counties. There's one or two. Madison and Milwaukee, those are blue, and the rest of the state pretty much goes the other way. So we'll wait and see.
That's the model for the country. The urban centers,
it is,
of course, are all Democrat, and then the rest of the state, if they have enough population, maybe they can outweigh that.
It is. And, we're even seeing this, even in Texas, it's looking good for Ted Cruz. I don't know if they've called that one yet, but he's in a pretty good position, it looks like.
Most expensive senatorial race in history.
Right. And
Chuck Schumer pulled out all the stops.
And, you look at Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and Dallas, those counties and that those cities are in, as well as, maybe one or two surrounding are blue and the rest really do turn out red. So we'll have to watch and see what happens with a breakdown there. But President Trump's strong in Texas. They've called that already. So that's good. That's a big chunk for sure. And 40 electoral votes.
Right now, the electoral count nationally is 191 for Trump. This is according to NBC. 191, 81 for Harris. And I believe Pennsylvania is in that. And North Carolina, I think, is in that. Trump did get Ohio, so that's a major positive. And as you have noted, Colonel, he got Florida.
He did, and South Carolina and South Dakota. And the list is, well, none of those states are gigantic numbers. It just shows, once again, especially when you start working your way across the country, the flyover states are pretty heavily invested in the Republican Party. And so it looks like in Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn won easy re-election to Senate. You can't forget that everybody's sort of fixated on the presidential run, but really the House and the Senate are so critical to whether anything can get done. Or we're just going to...
Right now, the Senate overview looks like 44 Trump, 34 Harris.
Right.
Well, I mean, Republican, Democrat. That's what I meant to say.
So, but that more than anything, it's almost the president obviously is critically important, but without that support, and we know they usually get it the first couple of years, and it's hard to hold on to for the last four. So this is the time to get it. And
Pennsylvania may not be lost. 37% of precincts in Harris, 50.4% to Trump, 48.7. Only 37% of precincts in, and I believe that's the major cities. Let's go to NBC and their recap of what's happening nationally from Channel 10 and NBC. Bob,
don't have it yet.
Don't have it yet. Okay, I thought we did have it. Let's see. NBC saying Wisconsin and Michigan are too close to call. And as we've already noted, Pennsylvania. Now, we have some unfortunate news. Hate to say this, but with about a third of the votes in, it looks like Prop 1 is doing very well in New York State. So we may have to live with something that's really repellent, unfortunately, notwithstanding the best efforts of Aisha Kreitz and the Coalition to Protect Kids and all the folks who have been lining up for this. It is a vile piece of legislation. It's cynical. It's full of lies, and it's going to be really bad for kids.
It's evil.
People.
I'm sorry. Gary Stout is in.
It's going to get passed by a bunch of people that don't know what's in it, because the polls or the surveys that I saw said that when people hadn't read it and they just were asked about it, they were like 60-some% in favor. And as soon as you told them what was in it and had them read the thing, it dropped it into the mid-20s for support.
The shell game and the lying and the false marketing is a
trademark.
Yeah, it's the way the left operates. That's their MO. We have, Steve Mamano, Captain Steve Mamano from Valor Radio is in the studio here, and he's just kind of like taking this all in.
It's amazing.
Tell us what you think, Steve.
Well, that the Prop 1 thing really upsets me because, it's going to be used by the left to give special rights to illegals in the state. And there's nothing any of us can do about it now.
Yeah. Illegals voting, folks.
Yeah, you can bet on that.
Oh yeah,
it's going to happen. It's going to, and they swear up and down that it's not going to happen. But see how quickly it occurs. But
every time this illegals voting issue comes up, I always say the same thing. Wouldn't it be a kick in the pants if they all started voting conservative?
And I think we see that with some groups. Maybe it takes some time, but once people start trying to grow businesses, I'd like to see the numbers. We saw in the late 70s, 80s, and into the 90s a substantial number of folks come into New York State that were refugees from Laos and Vietnam, and I watched many families just work their tails off and become, very successful in business. 8 or 9 kids getting college educated. just absolutely committed to integrating themselves into the rest of the American society. And I wonder how those folks are voting today. 'Cause I think, what you're dreaming about, Bob, I think it's probably true with some of those groups. That they never saw themselves as victims, no matter how bad they had it, how long it took them to get here. They just wanted a chance. They really just wanted the opportunity, and they seized on it. And
you'll find a lot of criminals in that segment of society, though. I mean, you know, people coming from Laos and Cambodia, we're not going to be a criminal element, No,
I think they probably, but I just saw families do spectacular stuff, and they put their needs second, or, 4 or 5 families would group together and get one family up and running, and until everybody they would just work together and didn't ask for anything, just wanted to do it. And so there are folks out there coming here for the opportunity, not to be waited on.
And why would they want to move to a country and be part of transforming it into something that resembled where they just left?
Absolutely.
All those guys. More to come on Election Central on WYSL. Don't go away.
Every day can be a holiday in your new ride from Victor Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 6484 Route 96 in Victor, where they're featuring a select inventory of 2024 4xe Grand Cherokees up to 50% off. Choose from 7 units and hail them. And check this, lease the 2024 Jeep Compass Limited 4x4 SUV at just $249 a month for 42 months. A 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 SUV is only $349 a month for 42 months. A 2024 Jeep Compass SUV is just $249 a month for 42 months. A 2025 Ram 1500 Big Ford Crew Cab 4x4 pickup is $359 a month for 42 months. 1,000 miles per year. All lease deals require lease loyalty. $3,500 down. First payment, DMV taxes and fees for signing. 7,500 miles per year. Except pickup. Other conditions may apply. See dealer for details. We welcome Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram customers in Victor, Canandaigua, Macedon, Fairport, and Finger Lakes. Visit the most beautiful new vehicle sales and service dealership in the area. Victor Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram. Now at 6484 Route 96, just east of Victor.
Tom Hamilton here, president of Hamilton Wealth Management. Let's talk about investment fees and commissions. Just how much are you paying to have your investments managed? If you're like most people, you really don't know the cost, right? Does this make any sense? Paying for something without knowing how much? Okay, maybe your advisor is a friend and even sends you a birthday card every year. But what real value is he providing, and at what cost? Isn't that a fair question to ask of any service provider, including your broker? For a $2 million account with annual fees and commissions totaling 2.5%, you're paying $50,000 per year. That's a lot of money. Are you receiving that level of value? If you have over $250,000, I will personally review your investments, including an analysis of the actual costs. To schedule your no-cost review, call our Pittsford office at 381-9870 or contact us from our website, hamiltonwealthmanagement.com. That's hamiltonwealthmanagement.com.
Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor.
27,000 watts. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon Rochester. FM 92.1 Rochester. FM 95.5 Spencerport.
I'm meteorologist Amanda McDonald. As we go into the evening, it'll be very pleasant across the area with just a few passing clouds. Look for increasing clouds overnight as lows only dip down to 60 degrees. Very early tomorrow morning between around 4 and 6 a.m., a cold front will approach, bringing a couple of rain showers and some breezy conditions. As we go through the day, high temperatures top out around 68 degrees, but those temperatures will fall as we see a little bit of sunshine. For WYSL 1040 AM, I'm meteorologist Amanda McDonald.
I'm going to take you down.
Why would you buy a storage building or gazebo this time
Hey,
of
honey,
year?
you're on
How about
speaker.
to
We
save
need
money?
help.
Springwater
There's no
Office Workshop has
hot
in-stock
water.
buildings ready to clear for inventory.
Taylor, 500 help. Tony says call Taylor, 500 help.
Taylor's who we call for heating and cooling help. We need a plumber.
Taylor can help you with that too. Heating, cooling, and plumbing. Call 500 help.
Tony, I don't know what I'd do without you.
Thanks for getting me into hot water, pal. Hey, what are friends for?
Taylor, 500 help.
Hi, my name is Greg Sadwick, and along with my son Zach, we are the owners of Flower City Collision. We've been advertisers on WYSL, the voice of liberty, for the last couple of years. So I want to thank the listeners of WYSL for their patronage, which has allowed us to grow and reinvest in the latest technologies to ensure that your vehicles are repaired to the most current standards, whether conventional or EV. If you're in a collision, reach out to Zach at Flower City Collision in Henrietta, and he'll work with your national insurance company on your local behalf to ensure that your repair gets done right.
Keep your vehicle in tip-top shape. For quality, affordable vehicle service, rely on Rock Auto Service, 1132 Westridge Road. Rock Auto has what your car, truck, or SUV needs. Oil change, brakes, suspension, alignments, exhaust, air conditioning, and tires. Check their Google reviews as one of Rochester's best for customer satisfaction. Owner and U.S. Army veteran Dave Harris welcomes military service personnel and veterans. Rock Auto Service, 1132 Westridge Road, just east of Mount Reed, 434-5010.
A top-notch general surgeon? Look no farther than UR Medicine Noise Health, your trusted healthcare partner. At Noise Health, we prioritize your well-being, offering state-of-the-art facilities at 2 convenient locations. Our team of highly skilled surgeons is dedicated to your care. Choose UR Medicine Noise Health for a surgical experience that goes beyond expectations. Call 585-335-7179 to schedule your consultation today.
WYSL. Election Central on WYSL.
All right, as we start hour 2 here of Election Central on the WYSL stations, Bob Savage in studio along with the hosts, the co-hosts of Valor Radio, Colonel Paul Simonelli, Captain Steve Mamano. Out at the Republican Watch Party in Gates, we have Peter Vasquez, candidate for Monroe County Clerk. We have executive producer Gary Stout. And let's see, who am I missing here? Do we have Tom Hamilton yet? Is that a yes? I can't say. Okay. In any case, Paul, you had an electoral college update.
Right. I'm watching a few of the news services. Right now, AP's reporting 198 to 99 for President Trump. And
NBC says 201 to 81.
Okay, so they seem to be holding off on the blue states a little bit. NBC does. They seem to be reporting lower on any blue states that are states that have gone blue. So it'll be interesting to see. The House is so far. We still need a little bit longer. Right now, Senate, 47 Republican are decided, 38 Democratic.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay. Tom Hamilton is available to us, the host of Wall Street to Main Street. Tom, how you doing?
Hey, how are you guys doing? It's a very interesting night again. Like, every 4 years, hey,
yeah,
we go through this. We don't know what the answer is. But right now, I'm watching the New York Times. They do that needle thing for the total of the states, and North Carolina looks solidly Trump. Georgia solid Trump. Arizona, no surprise. Pennsylvania is leaning Trump already. I mean, that would be the end. If Pennsylvania goes Trump, it's over.
It's over. Yeah. He's got Ohio, Florida. So those are big wins.
Texas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say again, Steve.
Texas.
And Texas as well. So this is looking pretty strong, Tom. Yeah, I think the connection is a little squirrely there.
The market futures are looking are way up. I think that's on the expectations from where we are right now of a Trump victory, or maybe just a relief rally, right? That the damn thing's going to be over with. But from where it stands right now, it's a hell of a lot better for Trump than 4 years ago. Let's put it that way.
Well, of course, there's no comparison between the two campaigns, right, Tom? I mean, this was pretty much the closest I've seen to a perfect campaign. I mean, it was just really well played. Trump stayed out of all the personal stuff and all the annoying, trivial, silly controversies with pop stars and people in the media that annoyed mature voters, I guess is the best way to put it.
Well, I think it's undeniable that Harris is a historically weak candidate, right? I really don't think anybody on either side, if you over a beer or whatever, got him off the record, nobody would deny she's about as weak a candidate as you can have. So there's nobody turning out for her, right? They're either anybody voting for her either votes Democrat come hell or high water, or they're a never Trump vote, right? Those are the only two votes she's getting. There's no, Harris, I can't wait to go vote for her. And I think that's what's killing her in the cities, in the urban vote. I just think that's killing her in the black vote. They're just not in, they'll still vote for her way over Trump. They're just not getting off their rear ends all excited to go vote for her, which then I don't blame them.
Well, yeah, because there's nothing there. There's no substance there to get excited about, because she's a cipher. She is just a figurehead that's been pushed by the party all along. She doesn't have the intellectual capacity, or she's not facile with ideas. She's not fast on her feet, and she doesn't really understand much. So what can you cheer for? I mean, she's just...
What's going on in New York State, guys? Is there anything interesting? I went to vote today, and it seemed pretty much like we weren't voting for very much, at least that there was going to be, that we didn't know the answer for. Is there anything?
Well, no, I think you characterized it pretty accurately there. I think it all looks pretty much like the way it is, and it's stasis in New York State because of the political makeup and because of the the Democrat dominance. It's a single party state, and so it's about as exciting as an election in Russia.
Well, Tony, from my angle, I'm just interested to see how it ends up, and then watch the markets tomorrow and for the rest of the week, because I remember back to 2016, the markets initially crashed overnight when Trump won, and by the end of the next day of trading, or 2 days later anyhow, we're back way up. So the markets can be finicky about that. It's undetermined how they wind up, depending on who, no matter who wins. But right now, like I said, the futures all show straight up for most of the U.S. markets tomorrow.
Well, that
could change.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom Hamilton from Wall Street to Main Street. We'll check in with you a little bit later on here, Tom. Thanks very much. Right now, NBC is calling an electoral college a tally of 201 for Trump, and what was it? 99. What was it? 91 for Harris? Okay.
So just got some new numbers from the Pennsylvania State website, and it is showing President Trump 49.99% to 49.11%. So he's pulled ahead, and guys, if you remember, both in 16 and 20, it was a slow crawl to overtake.
We get this big splash of the big counties, Allegheny and Philadelphia, and Harrisburg, whatever that county is.
Right.
Why did they call New York for Kamala?
Oh, they did.
Yeah, they did. Long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay. But they haven't called California yet.
By a huge margin, by the way.
Oh, I can imagine.
So Texas for Trump looks like 71% in.
Yes, in spite of those blue urban centers going completely blue. So let's see what's happening in Philadelphia County. Do a little drill down here and see what we can find out.
Colonel Paul Simonelli with us here in studio as he dances around on his laptop.
So about Larry Krasner, he was getting into it with the Donald this afternoon about cheating.
Yes.
Cheating.
Larry Krasner, the DA.
Yeah, I know who he is. He's accusing Trump of cheating.
No, Trump is accusing them of having cheating going on, and the law was supposedly involved. So,
now, look at this. Trump pulls ahead slightly in Virginia.
Yes.
67%. 49.1 to 49%.
That would be an upset.
That would be great. That would be great. So we talk about those counties in Philadelphia that are so dominating. Philadelphia County right now, 79. It's ostensibly 79% to 20% for Kamala Harris. I don't think there's anything there. I'm trying to find the results from last time to see how that compares with before. And it also, it's a straight blue county. So we'll have to see what happens with this. They don't have a high percentage reporting yet.
Is Pittsburgh the other population center that they focused on?
Pittsburgh, right.
It's in Pittsburgh, Allegheny County in Philadelphia.
Yeah. So let's see what we got in Allegheny County. That's, I think we know what it's going to be. But if you remember,
there were hugely Democrats county.
But there were a couple of folks. Remember, there's a couple of counties in the northwest of that flipped it in 16. It just came down really hard, and not doing as bad in Pittsburgh. In Allegheny County right now, he's at 38% versus 62%. So that's not nearly as bad as it was in Philadelphia. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here.
And here's a piece of great news. Looks like Ted Cruz has very handily defeated Allred
Handily.
Yes, handily.
Isn't that great?
Despite the, was it $100 million?
And no money for Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, not a dollar. All right, let's see. Let's go back out to Peter here because I'm temporarily losing my voice. He's got a guest he'd like to talk to.
Absolutely. Guys, I have Phyllis Wickerham. She is the chairwoman of the Monroe County Women's
Federated Republican Women's Club.
Yeah. So here, I'll just let you tell us all about it.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. My name is Phyllis Wickerham, and I'm the president of the Monroe County Federated Republican Women's Club. We are an organization of strong Republican women that stand behind Trump. We also are a service organization that when we raise donation monies, it goes to our veterans, our family organizations that need our support to put programs and services together. So we're very proud of the fact that we give back to our community and that we support strong women Republican candidates in our area. But we also support all Republican candidates, Peter being one of them this year. We are proud to be that supporter of Peter's campaign this year.
So I'm curious, Phyllis, there seems to have been, especially during early voting, a bunch of women that were coming out to vote, and that seems to be a trend. What do you think? What's your take on that?
Well, I think that when we are out talking to our friends, our neighbors, we are encouraging people to go out and early vote. I am a chairperson or chief of staff for Tracy DeFlorio's Republican campaign this year. And when we're door knocking, we encourage people because when it comes to election night, we get that data on who's already voted so that when we have those lists of people who have not, it's smaller. We encourage people to do those early voting. So thank you very much for all of those Republican people who went out and voted this year. I think it makes our job much easier on election night to make sure that the rest of us get out and vote.
Absolutely. Now, there seems to be this trend where Republicans, when they lose around 60-40. It's almost consistent historically. You've been around for a while. But why do you think, and Bob and Paul, everybody at the studio, what do you guys think that is?
For me, what is it about Republican voters, especially here in Western and Central New York? We believe, because it's been ingrained in our minds, that New York City determines who wins. So we have an entire population over here in central and western New York that think our vote doesn't count. So they choose not to go out and vote, because why am I wasting my time when I know it's not going to count? My personal belief is you're not counting if you're not going. And that's what I tell people. I tell my friends, I tell those doors that I knock, you need to go and vote to express your opinion. But I don't know what the other guys in the studio think, but I believe it's a disheartening impression that we get over here on the western side of our state, that we don't count.
Gotcha. Bob, do you have any questions for Phyllis or any of the guys there, or any response to that?
No, I think it's very well put. I absolutely believe what she said, which is that my vote doesn't count. But I go through the motions of voting. I mean, I wouldn't miss a vote, but I know in the end, I mean, I'm just watching tonight what's going on in Monroe County, and my vote didn't count. It sure didn't count.
I think what we're seeing is a multi-generational success. It starts with education. I was talking to a coworker today, and his daughter's in a public school system in Webster, and he was telling me every day when he gets home, he sits down with his daughters and they talk about what happened during the day and what they learned in school. And he says he spends a portion of the evening deprogramming them on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I don't think most parents realize what their kids are hearing, and I think kids just default to that. And so,
well, of course, they're kids.
But they're starting young, and they hear that all the way through grammar school, through high school. They get to colleges where, it's extreme, and they come out into the adult world. Mm-hmm. And when I was at U of R, even 1981 and before, there was one professor I identified in the entire college between all the soft science departments that was conservative. Literally one professor. And so, and you can only take so many courses from that person.
Right.
It seemed like an anomaly. I mean, you go in and it seemed like he was talking bizarre stuff, but it wasn't. It was just different. And so I think that's really what's happening in Western New York. I think that's happening in a lot of places, but I think that leads to folks, when they stay in the community, come through here. The other thing, we've got a lot of people coming in. Remember, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, the largest employers were Kodak, Xerox, Bausch & Lomb.
Yep.
And now the largest employers are RIT and U of R.
Right. And the hospital. Yep. Exactly. The service industries.
Right. And that brings in
100% dependent on government. All
yep.
the
right.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And you have an entire generation of families that both parents are working. They're both trying to make ends meet within their household. They don't have time to re-educate their children on what they're hearing in school. And that's the sad part, is that they're exhausted and they're not talking to their children about what they've done in school that day. They're just getting them to bed at night so that they can get up and go to work in the morning, get their kids out for school in the morning. And that, I think, is a sad commentary on what our state has become.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we got into a discussion earlier this week. I think it was a text thread with the colonel and the captain about just imagine Rochester of 1960.
Mm-hmm.
What Rochester of 1960 looked like versus now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you talk about apocalyptic visions. If you had the opportunity to explain to people in 1960 what Rochester would look like 65 years later, they would have thought that you were on some kind of drug. Never would have.
Yep, they would have never believed it. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, on the positive side of things, we have Trump leading at the moment, so that's a good thing.
Well, but you know what? That's the sound of the starting gun, Peter.
Yeah.
Well, and if he can win the country, that's a plus for the nation, but we're still in dire straits here in New York State.
Very much so.
And
That is the
yes.
yeah, and other blue states. We're going to be beholden to the people who believe that we should allow children to make decisions for themselves, allow illegal immigrants to come in and take advantage of all of our systems. We in New York State, if we don't have Republican wins this time, it will take generations to right the wrong.
If it's even rateable.
I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be generational no matter what happens, because like I said, this is the starting gun. This is the beginning of our fight, not the end.
It has to be, but I think we've got to, we can't turn the page very quickly. It's going to be a slow, and I think we've got to go back to basics. We have to go back and worry about school boards, town boards, anything, no matter what it is in the county.
100% agree on that.
Whatever seat it is, we've got to start, and we've got to start educating people when they're young. You know, there's a small group of people that are interested in politics, and you see the same people all the time. We've got to bring other people in and educate them, and we have to do a school of elections. We have to teach people how it's done, and we've got to support them.
We have to have civics. We have to go back to civics and social studies, Paul.
Yes.
And the kids have got to start learning actual, classical liberal education in school. Not just the 3 R's, but
we've seen they're not getting it in school, so we have to use the tools that are out there. We have to use the free education sites that are out there. We have to start creating civic scouts to speak of, and get kids when they're young and get them interested and show that they can make a difference, and really start with those low end elected seats and build a cadre of strong candidates. So when it starts, when you start getting the county ledge, you start getting the assembly seats and Senate, we have people that, have done more. God love them for doing it, but, they've spent more than 20 years going around and getting signatures for the party.
Right.
That doesn't make you qualify you as a great candidate because you're committed to go do that.
Well, and can I interject here?
Please.
Advocacy. You need to be a good advocate for the causes that you believe in. And we have not taught our children that being an advocate for what we believe in is acceptable. That's our problem. They feel like they're being judged, that they're being, they want to be popular with their friends. They don't want to look like they don't fit in. So we need to teach our children, which there is an entire generation that has sat back on their laurels and let everyone else do the work, but they haven't stepped up and talked about what's important to them and why they think that this is more important than that. And it's okay to say those things.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think that we need to return to a truth-based society, because right now lies are being accepted all too regularly on all fronts by all people. We have a lying media, and they're not media; they're the political advocates. That has to be replaced with real reportage and truth, and we need to return to meritocracy. Right now, we have a government, a value system that comes down from the government, which is based on grievance.
Exactly.
Competing levels of grievance. That's got to go. That's extremely corrosive.
And more people are afraid to be forthcoming, outside, to speak their mind, because they don't want to be, what is the term, canceled. They don't want their friends to shun them because they have an opinion about something. That's our biggest problem. People are too afraid to step up and actually accept their beliefs.
Guys, looking, they just reported in the BOE, they're about 73% of precincts have reported And in most races, with the exception of a couple, the Republicans are still kind of at that 60-40
That 60-40.
So
Slight. Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming on, Phyllis. I really do. Guys, do you have
Peter,
anything
thank
else
you
for
much.
Phyllis?
Thank you much.
Anything more, guys? Do you have a last word for Phyllis or Peter?
Not at all. Keep up. You know, we just can't give up.
Yeah.
We got to keep pressing.
No.
Keep it
And
on.
that's, and that's exactly what we're planning to do here in Monroe County.
Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you.
Peter.
Take care,
Appreciate
guys.
it very much. Right now, the Electoral College count, according to NBC, 207 to, was it 91? Is that what you had over there, Paul? Something like that?
Yeah, and Fox is reporting 205 to 117, and AP is, let's see what AP is reporting. They just did an update here. They're reporting 198 to 112. So all in the same range. Obviously, the Fox looks like it's the most optimistic so far. But it's happening little by little.
House right now, 142. Oh, it just went away. The graphic went away. But the Senate has about a nine-seat margin, of course. Not by all means not done yet. Let's take a quick break here. Bob, if you're back there in the control room, thanks so much for joining us here for Election Central on the WISL stations. There's more to come with our in-studio team and Peter out at the Republican watch party.
Temperatures might be falling, but the deals are hot as ever at Victor Chevrolet, the new leader for Chevy in Rochester, Canandaigua, and Fairport. Check out these great lease specials. Go anywhere on the road or off in your new 2024 Chevy Silverado LT Crew Cab. Just $349 a month for 27 months. And the 2024 Chevy Equinox LT All-Wheel Drive, only $229 a month for 27 months. Or how about a 2024 Chevy Trailblazer LT All-Wheel Drive, only $199 a month for 27 months. These specials require Tier 1 credit approval and current lease and household. Mileage allowance 10,000 miles per year, 25 cents each additional mile, $2,500 cash or trade equity plus first payment and DMV fees required at closing. Get more details at dealer. And don't forget, Victor Chevrolet also has an unbeatable pre-owned selection. Whatever brand of vehicle you're driving, you can trust it to our Chevy certified service department. Come see how easy it is to do business with us. Victor Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Route 96 in Victor. Visit VictorChevrolet.com.
Attention upstate New York business owners and high-level executives. If you're a loyal WISL listener, you've probably enjoyed hearing Tom Hamilton, president of Hamilton Wealth Management, talk about money, business, and the local economy on his weekly radio show. Here's an opportunity to be part of the show and share your company's story with our listeners. Mr. Hamilton's looking for successful business owners and executives to be guests on his weekly radio show, Wall Street to Main Street. Mr. Hamilton's guests will join us in the studio for part of his show and provide insight on our local economy and what makes their company so successful. You don't have to be a radio pro to be a great guest. We've had quite a few business owner guests on the show over the past few years, and all have added great insight for our listeners. They've also enjoyed the experience. So if you own or manage a successful company in upstate New York and you're interested in being a guest on Wall Street to Main Street, please contact Mr. Hamilton's office and they'll provide more details. The number is 585-381-9870, or just go to their website, HamiltonWealthManagement.com, for contact info. That's www.HamiltonWealthManagement.com. Stay ahead of unplanned home repairs on your heating system with a holiday home comfort special from Turnbull. Let them help you prepare for winter. Get $500 off a brand new heating system when you schedule a free, no obligation estimate with Turnbull Heating and Air before December 1st. Or call Turnbull before December 1st and get your furnace clean for just $98. Get peace of mind and stay cozy. Turn to Turnbull.
You'll be comfortable with the best. Turnbull Heating and Air.
Election Central. WYSL AM 1040, FM 92.1 and 95.5 West.
Well, I'd love to tell you guys that we've got results, local results, county results, but we don't because the counting process is just so painfully slow. Because my voice is starting to give out a little bit. I've been talking since about 6 o'clock. I did a show before this one. I'll let the three guys we got here in the studio, Colonel Paul Simonelli, Captain Steve Mamano, both from Valor Radio, and Gary chat for a while. Take it away, guys.
All right. Well, Steve and I do Valor Radio, and, people must wonder about, the military is a voting group, and do they affect the outcome of elections? And I would say for the most part, other than a few of the areas in the country where there's a very high concentration, and it makes sense for people to change their residency, I don't think politicians care much about votes of the million people that are in the military. Would you agree, Steve? I mean, you've got groups of people from all over the country. They really aren't a voting bloc to speak up.
When you think of it in terms of actual numbers, that maybe a million and a half people in the military, in the reserve, it's really a drop in the bucket. So I don't think that their priority is catering to the military at all.
Steve, did you find any trouble when you were cruising? That's what they call it when you guys go riding your boats, going for a cruise. Did you find any? Oh, it's deployments. That's right. I'm sorry.
We're on cruise.
Okay.
On cruise, yeah.
Okay.
We weren't cruising. We were on cruise.
Oh, I thought you were cruising.
Well, nowadays there's a lot more cruising going on.
Yeah. But anyway, did you find any difficulty getting your votes in? I will tell you, the only time I know for sure that I missed voting was 1996. I was in Bosnia.
The only, and I feel kind of ashamed about it, but the only election I did not, a presidential election, did not participate in was 1984 with Mondale Reagan, because I knew Reagan was going to win, and I was at OCS at the time, and I was a little bit busy. So, my priority was not reelecting Ronald Reagan. I knew he was going to get reelected. And I feel kind of guilty about the fact I didn't get a chance to vote for him the second time because he was such a great president, and I love the guy. So,
yeah, 96, I sent my ballot in, and I got a letter a few weeks later, came to Bosnia and said, we received your ballot a little too late.
Oh, that was Clinton Dole?
Yes.
Oh.
Missed the cutoff.
Yeah.
And so I think if you go look at my voting record, for actually voting, I think you'd find that there's 1996 was a miss because of that. And after that, anytime I was deployed, the second I got my absentee ballot, I immediately filled it out and put it right back in the mail. So
no, I didn't have any other problems that I know of. I tried to be home to vote as much as I could, but it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I still remember that 1996 ballot. It was a card. It was a punch-out card.
Right.
And if you didn't handle it gently, all the chads started falling out.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, it was really an amazing thing. They gave you a little pin with it. You're supposed to knock out the chad, but
if it did, you were in trouble because it was not a usable ballot anymore.
Right. So they probably wouldn't have accepted it anyway, because I actually got a piece of tape to put a chad back in, because they literally were just falling out as I was trying before I could punch one out.
Yeah.
So who knows what would have happened. That was a horrible design for a ballot. I don't know who thought that those could, especially going to service people flying all over the world, these absentee ballots like that. So, but I still think about 96 and not getting my vote in time. A little bit of a sore subject with me, but I don't know. So I think what happens, the results of this election will be gigantic for the military. What do you think, Steve? I think we're going to see a recommitment to restoring the military and get us out of some of these things where we've got people deployed. We've got thousands and thousands of people deployed around the world, and
well, we're getting some people in the Senate. I mean, Jim Banks is a pretty important guy to have in Indiana, we really need more military members. I don't know what's going on in Pennsylvania yet with what's his name again? I can't remember his name now. The fellow that's up against Casey. McCormick.
It's not going well for him right now.
Oh, it's not?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it. It's not going well, unfortunately.
How's the Marino Sherrod Brown in Ohio? Can you see that?
We need that.
Let's see here. Ohio, Bernie Marino, 50.9%.
To Sherrod Brown?
Yes. Yeah. So
what's Sherrod Brown got? We don't know.
Let me see if I can bring her up now.
It's a he.
Or he, I'm sorry.
Is Marino a veteran?
I think he is.
I think he is too.
Yeah. So
the more we can get in.
Michigan looking strong for Trump now. And Trump has opened up a 3-point lead in Pennsylvania with 72% of the precincts in.
Almost 4-point lead in Georgia. Wow.
North Carolina.
Look at that.
84% in, 50.7 to 47.9 for Harris.
No, come on.
Arizona.
Oh, look at Arizona.
Oh, dead the heat.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Boy.
44 votes.
I wonder how Kerry Lake.
I was going to say, how's Kerry Lake
Let's see
doing?
what we can find about Arizona and Kerry Lake right now.
Of course, you know what happens in Nevada. It looked pretty strong for Trump for a while there, but they've got a tremendous labor union.
Oh, I can imagine.
Presence out
So
there.
here's this Ohio thing. Bernie Moreno, 50.9. Sherrod Brown, 45.8. And Independents got 3.3%. Don Kissick tearing votes away from Brown.
The Independents taking it away, huh?
Yeah, it
Wow.
looks like it. It looks like it.
That would be awesome to get rid of Sherrod.
I wonder if there was any problem today with RFK. With the there were a couple places where he was on ballots. He was telling his supporters, "Don't vote for me.
Right.
Vote for Trump." But there was concern that a lot of people who are Bobby Kennedy guys would say, I'm proud of the fact that I'm going to vote for Bobby Kennedy and not Trump, and they might pull the lever push the button for him.
He tried to get off the ballot, but the courts wouldn't let him.
Yeah, wouldn't let him off the ballot. How do you like that?
Yeah, Kerry Lake's
that's
down
accounting.
6 points right now.
Oh boy,
that's not good.
And looks like they have about 50% reporting in right now. So
Wisconsin, it's 49 to 41.
So the picture's looking pretty good right now.
49.1 to 40.
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. So this is Wisconsin. I mean, everything's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah. As the clock ticks away here, it looks like more and more.
117.
Looks like right now we're at 48 seats. Republicans at 48 seats in the Senate. Democrats at 36 seats. And I guess one independent for sure right now. So this is all looking pretty good right
Popular
now.
vote 55% in, Trump 52.4, Harris 46.2. Popular vote.
What I heard one commentator saying today, this could end up being a runaway. It could be an unbelievably close election, but still a runaway. Where the numbers of popular vote are very, very close, but just enough to overcome and get those electro votes. And so it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out one way or
No matter
another.
which way this goes, of course, the left is going to say,
See, that's why we got to get rid of the electoral college.
Right. Which is
Look at the discrepancy.
You gotta get rid of the elected machines.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Florida outlawed Dominion machines. There's no Dominion machines allowed in the state of Florida.
Yeah, I heard Ron say that.
Yeah. So that's a pretty very well run election. So the machines were sweet the way they worked. It was a great system the way they had it set up. So
Arizona, Trump's got 1/10 of a point on Harris.
boy, that would be nice. Nothing on Nevada yet. No reports on Nevada yet.
Nevada doesn't look good.
Do you know what happened in Iowa?
He won like major.
So
So much for the Des Moines Register poll.
the outlier.
Yeah, that poll, what I read was they had the questionnaire they gave the people, and 81% of the people that took that poll were either former or currently never Trump.
Ah, geez.
So
yeah, very skewed.
There goes their credibility.
And supposedly it was a real high credibility pollster too. And she had been very accurate in the past. Well, that's out the window because obviously she's sold out.
Wow.
Well,
Paul is scanning wildly here as we
drilling
talk.
down the counties here because I wanna believe what I'm seeing. And so looking at the Pennsylvania website,
that's the big one.
the state website, and there he's at 50.6 to 48.45. So that's a solid 2.2 or 2.1% lead. And I'm telling you, I remember what it was like in 16 and 20. It took the whole night for him to get to a point where he got ahead, and he didn't get ahead in 20. So this is this is a great sign right
It's
now.
only that last 2% too that takes forever to, to iron out.
Right, but the way things typically work out, you can't flip numbers real significantly with any one county unless it's one of those, like Philadelphia or one of those type counties. So far, so good.
Bob D'Angelo passes along here in the town of Avon. There are two props on the back, in addition to Prop 1, that had to do with allowing empowering the town board to directly appoint replacement for certain other town officials without there being, like a referendum or a vote. Yeah, a special election or anything. And that they were both, looks like, soundly defeated.
Yeah.
They had that same proposition in Greece too. The Proposition 2.
Right, that's going to be a critical one this coming year for Greece. I think it's going to be very interesting to see.
What's the Proposition in Greece?
The same thing where they can just select from a group of citizens. Anybody can put their name.
It doesn't have to be the same party. So if they vote to fill a spot to finish a term, it doesn't have to be a person in the same party that left.
Okay.
That's Jake. What's going on in Greece right now? There's a whole thing going on in Greece, so it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
North Carolina looks strong for Trump right now.
Georgia.
Let's find out what's happening on the Western New York beat. We have our Western New York bureau chief Bob Lucky on the line. Hey, Robert.
Well, good evening, everybody from Western New York. As you probably may have heard, Proposition 1 was approved, which effectively protects abortion rights in the New York State Constitution. Proposed amendment garnered the required 50% of votes to pass. Now, according to the latest Siena poll, about 57% of upstate New Yorkers did favor the measure, and of course that was lower compared to what the affirmative rate was for downstate and the surrounding counties surrounding New York City. But either way, Proposition 1 will be part of the new state constitution. In the U.S. Senate, Kirsten Gillibrand declared the winner over Republican Michael Sapricone. Gillibrand has represented New York State since 2009 when she filled a vacancy led by Hillary Clinton, who, of course, went on to become Secretary of State under President Obama. 3 congressional races in Western New York all the way east towards Watertown. First in the New York 26th District, Democrat Tim Kennedy seeking a full term after winning a special election to replace Brian Higgins, who resigned last winter. Kennedy easily distancing Republican Anthony Marecki, who has been pretty much missing in action. Freedom of Information Act to the Federal Election Commission revealed that there was no campaign financial statement on Marecki's part. So Tim Kennedy, of course, moves on to get a full term after, of course, winning that special election last spring. New York 23 District, Nick Langworthy, the former state Republican chairman, his district stretches from Lake Erie all the way to Elmira in the southern tier. He faced a challenge from Tom Carl, a Democrat, originally from Broome County, now living in Fredonia. And in New York 24, Republican Claudia Tenney, whose district runs from Niagara Falls to Watertown and makes a U-shape around the Rochester area. She faced Democrat David Wagenhauser in her bid for a third term. But in all 3 congressional races, the power of incumbency will prevail. So both Kennedy, Langworthy, and Tenney will be moving on to new terms in Congress. Seneca Indian Nation voters there will be, of course, choosing a new president. Of course, the presidency alternates between the Cattaraugus and Allegheny territories. J.C. Seneca heading the Seneca Party ticket running for president. And that's what's happening here in Western New York. I'm Bob Lucky.
Hey, Bob Lucky, thanks very much for the report. I appreciate that very much. And we will be back with more. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll round things up in the final segment here of Election Central on the WISL stations. Debunking advertising from the law office of Christopher Johnson. Get a load of some of those injury attorney TV ads. There they are, rescuing cats out of trees, helping seniors with walkers cross the street, playing with slot cars, or getting people on the street to sing their musical jingle on camera. Are these guys running law firms or selling Klondike bars? Fun is fun, but when you've been seriously injured in a car, truck, or motorcycle crash, or on unsafe premises, funny stuff isn't your focus. Getting better and getting your life back on track is. That's where the one-on-one personal focus of Christopher Johnson comes in. When he represents you, you get 100% of his attention to help you get every dollar you're entitled to under the law. It's a client-focused commitment, not cuteness. This Straight Talk comes to you from Christopher Johnson, attorney, car, truck, motorcycle accidents, personal injury, and DWI defense. Call 585-415-3803. That's 585-415-3803.
Your go-to for standard of specialized business insurance coverage. MGM Associates of Rochester, now serving the region and beyond in New York. Since 1984, MGM has provided leading coverage from a wide range of carriers. Not only home, condo, boat, motorcycle, and auto, but also specialized policies for all types of businesses, including nonprofits and law firms, livery insurance, property insurance, and bonds for all needs. MGM Associates of Rochester provides auto, workers' comp, healthcare, and liability coverage. Choose from virtual appointments or good old in-office, in-person consults by appointment at our Penfield office. 5-time consecutive winner of the National Best Practices Award. MGM is proud to support veterans groups. For your personal, business, home, or professional insurance needs, meet the experienced staff at MGM Associates. Locally and proudly owned at 1745 Penfield Road in Penfield. 381-7008 or MGMinsure.com. An associate of United Frontier Mutual Insurance, 190 Davison Road, Lockport, New York.
Dion, you see this most likable spokesperson poll?
Really? I might know somebody. Oh, we're looking forward to this today, aren't we?
Seriously, guys? We're a team. We're not competing against each other.
Ooh, who's a good spokesperson?
2 puppies? I did not expect that from you.
One of them's for you. Oh, who's a good spokesperson? Yes, go to West Her.
Welcome to West New York.
Election Central. WYSL AM 1040, FM 92.1 and 95.5 West.
We are back in here. Bob Savage, along with Colonel Paul Simonelli and Captain Steve Amano from Valor Radio. We have out at the Republican Watch Party in Gates, Peter Vasquez, candidate for county clerk. And we also just heard from Bob Lucky with the Western New York congressional races. And now we learn from the Watch Party for Ashley Williams, the Republican candidate for Livingston County DA. With 95% of the vote in, she's opened up a nice 4-point lead over incumbent Democrat Greg McCaffrey. There was a letter of no confidence issued by every police agency in the county against McCaffrey.
Yeah.
So anyway, we wish the best to Ashley, and she's right down the street here, down at Fratelli's, and hopefully she'll have some good news to report here. Let's see, Sarah Clark, New York State Assembly 136, the winner, 69% of the vote. Harry Bronson defeated Tracy DeFlorio in 138. 74% reporting, but that's the way it looks. Channel 10 is calling it for Harry Bronson. This will be his 7th term, ladies and gentlemen.
They called it for Jeremy Cooney, too.
I'm sure they did.
I believe.
Yeah. So Jim Van, former Gates police chief, Jim Van Bretterode, defeated there. For 135, just talked to Kimberly DeRosa. Looks like she's lagging behind incumbent Jen Lunsford, 60% to 40%. That's with 84% reporting. And let's go to the next graphic here, guys, if you got it there. Pam Helming very neatly defeating Scott Kamik. Well, it's only 52% in. But Pamela has the Republican has the advantage of incumbency. Scott Kamik is the Democrat. He currently has 39% of the vote. And that's New York Senate District 54. And what's next? Let's see. As it slowly starts to come up, maybe that's it. Yeah, it is. So, Paul, what can you tell us about the national picture right now?
Well, we've been looking at some individual states. Virginia is moving back, and for right now, Harris has pulled out a 1.5 lead over Donald Trump in Virginia with about 74% counted. So, and, Virginia looks like so many other states. The urban, the large cities are blue, and once you get outside those, we were talking about the military a little earlier on Norfolk. largest Navy base on the East Coast, largest Navy population.
I'm going to need you to move it.
And that is pretty much blue. So some of the counties surrounding Norfolk are red, but interestingly, even with that,
same problem.
So I know people always think that military votes Republican. It's just not the case.
Not a model.
Very independent thinking folks in the military. Anybody that's ever tried a case in the military knows what military juries are like. They're very independent thinking, and they're not automated. They don't go in and automatically vote one way or another. So you get quite a bit of diversity and opinions. And I think what we see in Norfolk, that's a very large retired community too.
Sure is.
Gigantic retired community. Also, large Air Force base there. So you have populations of both. Navy and Air Force going blue. I guess that's what we would expect.
We could have predicted that.
Yeah. Let's go. Yeah. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go over while someone else is talking. I'm going to go look at the county in Texas where Fort Hood, now Havasos, is, and see what, because that's a giant population too. That's the largest.
Well, you're probably going to find a pretty strong conservative bent in San Diego. You know,
you think so?
Yeah, I do. Better than Norfolk.
Yeah,
Virginia is a real conundrum. I can never figure out Virginia.
Tell you what, guys, let's go out to the Republican Watch Party in Monroe County, and Peter Vasquez is standing by. Hey, Peter, what you got?
I've got some excited people here. I have Septimus Scott, right? I want to talk a little bit about the Black perspective, which is why I asked him to talk. Septimus, if you don't mind, what's your perspective?
I think for me personally, I'm just going to be frank, right? I want
no cussing.
Yeah, of course, of course not. No, I mean, I want Trump to win this thing. I think it's very important to have somebody who has a plan specifically for the Black community and the Black population, especially with Black men right now. I think it's important to see this victory happen because there are a lot of individuals that are galvanized within the city of Rochester, within Monroe County in general, that I think this win is going to start a ripple effect throughout Monroe County that's really going to get people out more voting.
Absolutely.
So, for me, it might be on a national scale, but it's definitely going to impact us here locally. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely. And it looks good. Let me ask you one last question, sir, if I may. You see the breakdown, I believe, just about all the Republican contenders, the candidates that were running non-incumbents.
Okay.
There seems to be a 60-40 split. And I know that we're disenfranchised with who's in office. Well, why is it? And obviously, I'm going to look at these numbers closer.
Yep.
But that discrepancy seems to come from the city, which is predominantly Black and brown.
True. I think the main thing is people are used to how they're voting. You have the Democratic Party that's bombarding the inner city with this literature and, all type of rhetoric 24/7. So that's what you're going to see. One of my main things right now is just making sure that we're getting more Republican voices as much as possible into the city of Rochester, into the urban areas, and into the suburban areas in Rochester too, because you have a lot of people, a lot of Black folks who are now stepping up voting Republican and people who want to vote Republican. So, I think as we continue on, regardless of how this season turns out, that we just continue making that same push and keep growing that base, because it's only a matter of time till we flip Rochester, till we flip Monroe County in general. So.
Are we going to start seeing the Black Republican Club a little more active in the upcoming years?
Absolutely. You're definitely going to see us out there more. You're definitely going to see me out there more. So when you see us, when you hear about us, please come join us. Really appreciate support.
Thank you. And where can they, real quick, your website?
Yep. So you can check us out, Black Republican Club on Facebook. You can follow me also on Facebook, Septimus A. Scott. Also Septimus Scott. So, yeah, that's about it now.
I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate you very much. If you don't mind passing the headphones. Guys, I also have the Honorable Senor Luis Martinez. We've heard him on the Next Step show before. Luis, how are you feeling? How's everything right now?
Everything's great. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Now, before I get too much into your elections, and we got to be brief because we're running out of time, how do you feel from a Latino right here in the United States? How does it feel?
Well, my agenda is to be one nation under God. So I frankly, that's my sense. It's just, I'm only speaking for myself because I know there's a large Hispanic community here in Rochester, but because of the corporate work that I've been doing for decades and where I have lived and traveled to many places, frankly, I can't claim that I'm as well connected with the Hispanic community as I am with other communities, meaning corporate community and business community and all that. So I'm not trying to speak for them, but I'm speaking for myself that I want to be one nation under God.
Now, what message do you have for the incumbents? They're calling the races. I believe they called it for your for the
Yeah, I think
incumbent right now.
Samra is going to remain in her seat from what I hear. And I think that Albany, all of Albany, needs to pay attention to what's going on in the local communities. Albany's agenda so far has been to be a privileged elite, bearing down on small communities, bearing down on family units, and telling us to do things and uh, fabricating mandates for all kinds of things that we don't need and we don't want. So that's my agenda, was to bring back local control, whereas Albany has the exact opposite idea. So if that's what they want to do, I'll just keep opposing it and exposing it.
Now, one last question for you, sir. Prop 1 seems to be in line to prevail this evening as well. What's your thoughts on
That's
that?
terrible. That's terrible for the simple reason that Prop 1, the purpose of the Prop 1 is to give more agency to Albany and less agency to the parents and their families. So that's a terrible development, and it's going to have to be addressed in some ways, and it's not going to go well.
No, you saw something like Prop 1 when you were in Cuba. That's why your parents
The
sent you
whole
here. Can
point
you
of-
give a brief description of
Yeah,
that?
the whole point of Prop 1 is to erase boundaries, age boundaries, gender boundaries, familial boundaries, and therefore to create a chaos that only courts can resolve over time, and then people will not like the results because boundaries have been erased on purpose, so that therefore Albany will have even more control as a result of that in the chaos that they're creating. And I predicted that. And if Prop 1 passed, then New York is in chaotic state. And I will, you can call me on this and you can quote me 2, 3, 4 years from now, and I will show you why it worked the way it did.
Dr. Savage or anybody in the studio, do you guys have any questions for these two fine
I
gentlemen?
don't think, but thanks very much, Peter. Great job tonight, and thanks for nailing down the fort there.
Absolutely. Sorry I disappeared. I had to go give my own.
I understand, and we'll let you deal with what's going on there at the Republican Watch Party. Let's, real guys here in the studio, really quick, take a quick look at the lines where we have in the electoral.
Am I signing off?
Looks like Trump 210. This is NBC News 210 to Kamala Harris 91. In the Senate,
No,
the Republicans have, looks like 48 seats to 37 for the Dems. And in the House, 150 seats versus 102.
All right.
That's the most,
Don't forget to log off of Restream when you guys are done.
Any final thoughts
All
here?
right, guys. Thank you.
Well, I think we got a ways to go. I think Harris is in a position right now. She needs to hold on to that blue wall. She needs Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. If she pulls all three of those states the way it looks right now, and squeaks out Arizona, she's got it. And
So we're not out of the woods yet.
no, absolutely not. I think it's because you throw California in there, and the numbers jump up real quickly. The states we know she's going to win: Washington, Oregon, Idaho, California. She's over 200 at that point. And like I said, the key's going to be Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania. Trump's got to be able to flip one or two of those to pull this thing out. Otherwise, we're going to be swearing in President Kamala Harris on January 20th.
God forbid. Steve, anything to add?
Yeah, I worry about Pennsylvania more than anything. And I have a feeling we're not going to know until tomorrow, maybe later in the day, about Pennsmunia. So it's going to be a kind of an agonizing.
Well, the numbers are looking good in those battleground states.
Yeah.
So far, and much of the vote is in,
except for Arizona.
Right. I was talking about like Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Peter.
Right, and as we sit here right now, President Trump is ahead in Pennsylvania by about 2.3%.
With how much? What percentage?
And it looks like I've got to go back and look at another map for that, but with about let me get back to it. This is it's changing every minute here. But as of this moment, it looks like he's got a 2% plus lead with about 67% reporting. So it still can go either way. You know, if it was 88 or 90, flipping 2% would be a pretty difficult thing. But it's really, we've got to see what's going to happen here. This is another hour or two before I think we're going to have any clarity on this.
Okay. Well, I want to thank all you guys for coming down here and doing this tonight. It's always a great experience. And we thank Bob D'Angelo for putting together so many technical details and lining up interviews, and thank Peter for keeping us informed from the Republican Watch Party in Rochester, Monroe County.
Robert, thank you.
My pleasure to do that. Also, Gary Stout, always great to have you in the studio, Gary.
No, thanks, Bob.
Thanks for, do you have a last final thought?
Well, it's too late to tell people to go vote, so I guess just pray.
Yeah, the polls are closing in the western
outcome.
states here right now at 11 o'clock, so I think we'll start to see some results come in. Great effort all around, and thanks to the candidates. They did a fantastic job. And thanks to you guys for turning out and voting and being great Americans. You've been listening to Election Central coverage on the WYSL stations.
For truth and freedom. AM 1040 Avon Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
In with News 10 NBC's Tom Kowalski, live at the Monroe County Office Building in downtown Rochester. He's been looking at the numbers. So the big question, how was turnout?
Well, Brett and Nikki, this evening, nearly 200,000 voters cast their vote in person this election day here in Monroe County. And that's in addition to the 133,000 additional early voters that Monroe County had this year. Now that's compared to the 350.